My name is Dane Okafor, and I want to tell you about the day everyone thought I would die, and how things turned out very differently. I worked as an escort for a woman named Veskelira Thren. She was not human. She was an alien princess from a powerful family called the Ashvale Dominion. Her people believed they were better than every other species in the galaxy. They believed fighting was beneath them, so they hired guards from other worlds to protect them instead. Most of the time, they hired humans. We were cheap, and we were tougher than we looked, even though the Ashvale never seemed to notice or care. For 3 weeks, I walked beside Veskelira as her personal escort during her visit to a space station called Kesh 9. My job was simple. I stood near her. I opened doors. I made sure nothing bad happened to her while she met with important people. It was supposed to be an easy job, the kind where nothing exciting ever occurs. Veskelira never treated me like a person. She had violet skin and 4 eyes, 2 on each side of her face. She spoke often to her assistants and advisors, but she rarely spoke to me. When she did speak to me, it was in short commands, the way someone might speak to a machine. I was not a person to her. I was simply part of her equipment, something she used and did not think about. I did not enjoy this, but I understood it. Many species from powerful worlds looked down on humans. We were seen as young, simple, and not very important in the larger universe. I had grown used to being treated this way, even if it never felt fair. Then, on one ordinary evening, everything changed. We were walking through a long hallway on the station, heading toward a private meeting room, when the lights suddenly went out. For a moment, everything was dark and silent. Then I heard footsteps, many footsteps, coming from hidden doors along the walls. Shapes began pouring into the hallway from every direction. They were armed, and they were clearly here for one reason: to harm the princess. I counted quickly. There were far too many of them, maybe 30 or more, all rushing toward us at once. Behind me, I heard panicked shouting. Veskelira's personal guards grabbed her and pulled her toward an escape pod at the end of the hallway. I heard the pod door close with a hiss. A few seconds later, I heard it launch away from the station, carrying the princess to safety. I was left standing alone in the hallway, facing a crowd of attackers, with only a stun weapon and a basic sidearm meant for simple security work, not for battles like this. In that moment, I understood something clearly. No one was coming to help me. If I wanted to survive, I would have to find a way through this myself. I want to explain something about humans that most other species never seem to understand. We do not look powerful. We are not the strongest, the fastest, or the most naturally gifted fighters in the galaxy. But there is one thing that has always set us apart. We do not know how to give up. Even when the odds are terrible, even when logic says we should lose, something inside us refuses to stop trying. The first attackers rushed toward me, expecting me to freeze in fear. Instead, I moved quickly, using the narrow hallway to my advantage. Since the space was tight, only a few attackers could reach me at once. This meant their large numbers did not matter as much as they should have. I could focus on one person at a time instead of being surrounded. I will not describe every detail of what happened next, because it was not something pleasant to relive. It was hard, and it lasted for what felt like a very long time. I pushed through exhaustion and pain, refusing to let myself slow down, because slowing down would mean losing. The attackers kept coming, wave after wave, but the hallway worked in my favor the entire time. It forced them to face me one by one, and I made sure that every single one who came close was stopped before they could get past me. As time went on, my body grew tired and sore. My hand was injured. My side was hurt, but somehow, I remained standing. By the time the last attacker was finally stopped, the hallway was completely different from how it had looked at the beginning of the fight. Every single attacker who had entered that space had been defeated. Not one of them made it past me. I sat down on an overturned crate afterward, holding a piece of torn cloth against my side to slow the bleeding. My whole body ached. I was breathing heavily, and my mind felt foggy from exhaustion, but I was alive. Somehow, against everything that should have happened, I was still alive. Station rules required that someone confirm the danger had passed before anyone returned. Because of this, it took several hours before Veskelira came back. When she finally did, she walked into the hallway with 2 of her remaining guards, expecting to see a very different scene. I imagined she expected to find my body, and perhaps already had words prepared to explain my death to whoever had hired me. Instead, she stopped walking almost immediately. Her 4 eyes moved slowly around the hallway, taking in what she saw. Attackers, every single one, lying defeated across the space. And in the middle of it all, sitting on a crate, tired, but breathing, was me. For a long moment, she said nothing. I do not think she knew what to say. Her species was not used to seeing something like this. To them, humans were supposed to be simple, disposable helpers, not warriors capable of standing alone against dozens of trained fighters and surviving. "You," she finally said, her voice sounding less certain than I had ever heard it before. "You were supposed to be gone." "That was not really an option tonight," I answered, slowly standing up. My legs felt weak, but I forced myself to stay upright. I was not going to fall down in front of her after everything I had just been through. She looked around the hallway again, clearly trying to understand how one person could have done this. I could almost see her doing the math in her mind, comparing the small size of my weapons to the large number of attackers she now saw before her. "Why did you not run?" she asked quietly. "Why did you stay?" I thought about giving her a simple, polished answer, something about duty or loyalty, but I was too tired to say anything except the truth. "Because someone has to stand between you and the people trying to hurt you," I said. "That job does not go to whoever you respect the most. It goes to whoever is still standing when the moment arrives. Tonight, that happened to be me." She did not answer right away. I later learned that her people rarely apologized to anyone they saw as lower in status. It was not something built into how they spoke or thought, but instead of walking away, she stepped closer, moving carefully around the defeated attackers still lying across the floor, until she reached me. She placed her hand gently against the injury on my side. Her hand felt cool and slightly unsteady, as if this moment had shaken her more than she wanted to admit. She did not say she was sorry. She did not need to. The way she looked at me said enough. For the first time since I had begun working for her, she was seeing me as something more than equipment. She was seeing me as a person, someone who had a will of his own, someone who had chosen, in the most dangerous moment of his life, not to run. Her guards helped me to medical care soon after. My injuries were serious, but not life-threatening, and I healed over the following days. During my recovery, something interesting happened. Vescalira began to visit me. At first, her visits were short and quiet. She would simply stand near the doorway, watching, saying very little. But over time, she began to speak with me more, asking questions about my life, my home, and why humans behaved the way we did in dangerous situations. I told her honestly that I did not have a perfect answer. Humans were not naturally the strongest or fastest beings in the galaxy, but we had learned, over a very long history, that giving up rarely solved anything. Even when the odds were terrible, we tended to keep trying, because trying gave us a chance, and giving up gave us none. She seemed to think about this for a long time. I do not think it was an idea her culture had taught her to value. Her people believed that strength came from power, position, and control, not from stubborn effort in the face of impossible situations. As the days passed, the space station gave the hallway an official name in their records, but among the workers who had to clean and repair it, a different name quickly became popular. They began calling it the Mountain, because of how many attackers had been left there after the fight. It was not a name I was proud of, but it stuck. I tried not to think too much about that day. It was not something I wanted to remember in detail. But the results of it changed how Vescalira treated me from that point forward. She still spoke to her advisors often. She still carried herself with the confidence of someone born into great power. But now, when she looked at me, there was something different in her eyes. Respect, perhaps. Maybe even a small amount of concern for my safety. Something I never expected from her before that night. Sometimes, when we walked together through the halls of her ship, she would slow her steps slightly, just enough for me to notice. It was as if she was quietly checking that I was still there, still walking, still alive. She never said this out loud, but I understood it anyway. I do not think she ever fully understood what it means to be human. I do not think most of her people ever will. To them, we will likely always seem a little strange, a little unpredictable, and much tougher than we appear on the surface. But I think she learned something important that night in the hallway. She learned that the person she had left behind, the one she thought would surely die, was capable of far more than she had ever imagined. She learned that sometimes, the ones you underestimate the most are the ones who end up protecting you when everyone else has run. As for me, I continued working as her escort after that. The job did not become easier, and the dangers did not disappear, but something between us had shifted. I was no longer simply equipment to her. I was someone she trusted, someone she respected, and in her own quiet way, someone she cared about. And every now and then, when she looked at me a little longer than necessary, I let her look. It was the least I could do for someone who finally understood what she had left behind that day, and what had walked back out to meet her when she returned.